Everybody who needed to win got their win. We say farewell to an absolute Euroleague legend, and it's all down to one game in a big rankings game. It's all ahead of us on Sweet 16. Tune in.
Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of Sweet 16, an open look on Euroleague basketball. Yes, it's been an amazing week with non-stop Euroleague action, actually a weekend, but right now we're going to start off with simply saying hi to my great friends and co-hosts. Hi Emmett, hi Aris, how you doing this week?
Hello Moshe and Aris, welcome from Dublin, where I've booked my flights for the Final Four and got a comically good price on them. €250 return. Nice job, Turkish Airlines. Plug. But yeah, no, going good. Looking forward to a big week here, Moshe.
And hello from Athens, where we hope that we will have two Greek teams in the Final Four, and if Panathinaikos gets the home court advantage, this is going to be most probable.
Well, as you can see, we're all in our HQs, on a weekly basis, regular basis. And Emmett, we've mentioned just a few seconds ago, we've had a great EuroLeague weekend. What are we expecting towards this one with all of what's coming ahead of us?
Well, obviously last week there were some games that had huge impacts on the top four, Moshe. So that's going to be the main focus really of the 4-minute warning. Those games which affected the home court advantage. Then Coach's Playbook, we're going to look at one guy who's come up more often than not for his off-court moves in the literal sense, briefly. That'll be in the Coach's Playbook, along with saying farewell to a man who's announced he's hanging up his kicks at the end of the year. So that'll, come along, and it's a well-earned retirement, I think. And then, of course, we're going to get to the games of the week. There's quite a few games worth watching. There's one game that matters above all else, and there's one city on the Adriatic, well, not quite in the Adriatic, but in the Adriatic region, which is waiting to hear what we say above all else. So that's all ahead of us, but we're going to kick off, as we always do, with the always completely accurately named, and I will fight you if you disagree with me, 4-minute warning. 4 minutes to get through all the action that just happened in Euroleague. It's the 4-minute warning. And as ever, the 4-minute warning isn't quite 4 minutes, but, it's that time of season where there's too much to talk about, folks. So maybe let's call it the 4x4 minute warning in this case. There were big wins for teams who needed them to sort of stay, relevant really in their rankings races. Basconi got the win over Gala to stay loosely alive for a top 4 spot at the time. Not loosely alive, actually quite alive, as it turned out, the way the results broke for them. So, big win over Gala. You're sort of meant to get a big win over Gala on the road, so fair enough. Broza Bamberg nearly derailed the Darussafaka train, but just couldn't keep it going through overtime. I mean, there were so many fans in Belgrade watching that game in Bamberg who were just believing. But eventually Daska got the win to force the winner-takes-all game we've all been expecting anyway in Istanbul this week. Zvezda, for their part, there wasn't really much they could do other than, with the win, possibly mean a win this Friday will give them a chance at a better than 8th seed. That's really all they had to play for against Kazan because it was having no other impact. They got the win. They started off terribly and then they got the win. So that was that. Moshe, far more interesting game I'm going to throw to you now. Real and Fener. What was your take on this one?
Okay, but first I want to say, something real quick about the Dachka Zvezda thing we've had and we're expecting. So just 3 words. Bring it on. That's all I have to say about it. That's all I'm expecting. And right now about Fener Madrid. Well, Madrid were playing at home versus somewhat, absent roster for Fener, not that healthy roster. And with Madrid being in terrific form, I was surprised, to be honest, with the level of execution on the defensive end by Coach Zock's players, with managing simply to stop Madrid on a season low at halftime with I think it was 27 or around 29 points. But eventually, Madrid was simply Madrid. They managed to take control of the game when it mattered. They've managed to get a great game, I would say. I think when it counted the most from Rudy Fernandez, which was also good. Fener, I would take some good things for them, especially, their fighting spirit, which is great, obviously. When you have a Coach Zock as your coach, you simply get all the motivation you need essentially to simply play on D. For them, what I would say that they've had some issues on the offensive end, and again showing some weaknesses, that are recurring, and that is a problem that they will have to solve as this season is coming to the, simply to the most decisive moments that we could have asked for. On the same note, we knew that Fener are going to probably find themselves in some sort of a trouble losing their home court advantage. What we didn't expect is maybe for a potential playoff series between them and CSKA, which is something to really expect for should it happen. But as you know, the playoffs hasn't started. The last game hadn't been played. So Aris, I would love to hear your thoughts on the Fener-Madrid game, or actually Madrid-Fener game. And, simply, what were your thoughts on this one? And if you can share also, the Olympiacos-Efes game, which kind of put Efes in a very great spot, coming on to the last games, to the season last game, obviously. What were your thoughts?
I think that it's evident that we reached the point where motivation really plays a big part on how the teams perform, and that was the case for Real Madrid, because they have to get this game in order to secure the top spot of the regular season standings. The implication after this result for Real Madrid more than important, because now no matter what happens in the last round, Real Madrid will avoid playing Fenerbahce, Olympiacos, and also CSKA Moscow anywhere else than in the final of the Euroleague. So they had a really big motive to get this win. This applies also to Fenerbahce, but Fenerbahce had its own injury woes, so they really couldn't perform to the level that they wanted to. And that brings us also to Olympiacos and the game against Anadolu Efes. Anadolu Efes wanted to win this game. The motivation was much bigger than the motivation of Olympiacos. I'm not trying to justify Olympiacos here. I'm just reminding to anyone that Olympiacos in that particular game and also against Real Madrid does not have to do more than expected, because no matter what happens, Olympiacos has locked the third position of the standings. They have the home court advantage and they can't go either in the second place or in the third place. So practically the regular season is already finished for them and they're thinking about the playoffs. That's why the motivation of Panathinaikos against CSKA Moscow was also big, because that was a game that Panathinaikos wanted to win in order to get a real chance to have the home court advantage in the playoffs. Considering also the fact that Panathinaikos has just been defeated once in this regular season by any opponent at home, it's obvious that the home court advantage is going to be huge for them. It was interesting to see Panathinaikos playing this kind of new brand of basketball under the new principles and philosophy of Coach Pascual, and playing that good against CSKA Moscow and making a run for the home court advantage. On the other hand, CSKA Moscow also had a great motivation in this particular game, because if they had won, they would also have a real chance until the last moment to get the top spot of the standings. Now this is gone, and that, speaking also about motivation, proves how important and how key for the rest of the season is the win of Panathinaikos against CSKA Moscow. I believe that this is not just a win that let's say puts Pascual's Panathinaikos back on the map. It's the win that makes them real contenders for the title.
Well, the first thing I want to say is it was an instant classic. It was a game to remember right there and then. But the thing that I remember the most is when we were, texting each other throughout the game, saying, this is not only it's an instant classic, it was a reminder of the great rivalry we once saw. And just seeing Oaxaca sold out again, seeing Panathinaikos playing in full throttle, not just simply looking in Cheska's eyes, just staring them, having a stare down and being the last man standing. And the end of it was wow. It was wow for me. Just having this experience all over again after how many years has it been, Emmett, since Panathinaikos showed this ability in front of a sold-out crowd like this?
Oof, yeah, that's a good question, Moshe. I'd probably say realistically, I was initially going to say 2011, but no, that's being too harsh. Comparing everyone 2011 with 2012, that season, series ahead of Maccabi to get to Istanbul, that was when we lost to the Awaka quite at that level for anything other than obviously an Olympiacos game when they were always like that. But that's pretty much it from this section, and now we're moving on swiftly to an abridged but with good cause Coach's Playbook. The Coach's Playbook, where we look at the strategies that worked and that need to work in the coming weeks in Euroleague.
In previous episodes of Sweet 16.
It's the second time he's been released by a side this year. Alessandro Gentile, Ale, you are no longer in Athens.
It's a well-known fact that Xavi Pascual was a believer of Gentile. He wanted him also when he was in Barcelona. What we know at this point and what we have seen on the court is that Gentile didn't really fit well with the rest of Panathinaikos. What his future will be at this point is just a riddle.
Ale, oh Ale, it looks like that you've made it to the headlines again. But this time, just for simply joining to the project of Apol Jerusalem. Lots of things I could have said, lots of things I would have liked to see, but here is my true intake on this move. I think that for Jerusalem, you can do good in terms of Amari Stoudemire, because throughout the season, he was struggling with the right guys next to him, simply making him shine the way he really wanted to. But with everything that happened in Panathinaikos and Milan, I can't help wondering what's going to happen, especially with Jerusalem bringing you as the number 8 foreigner, and you're being, well, simply on the same position as Terence Kinsey and, well, with Apoel cannot, and not just Apoel, but every Israeli team for that matter, that cannot register more than 5 foreigners per game. So I would like to see how this thing works out. To be honest, I think it's a move that made a lot of headlines, a lot of noise. I think it can help potentially to Amari Stoudemire. Long run with the way that Apol Jerusalem are playing, they might find themselves out of the playoffs, or maybe in a best of 5 series versus Maccabi. Now, what do you think about that?
So yeah, with Ale, that's pretty much all anyone can say. Like we'll see what happens. Although of course there's one man, Moshe, where well, we already know what's going to happen. Tell us all about the impending retirement.
Well, an amazing career is coming to an end. Andreas Nocioni. Wow, the memories, oh, the memories. I would like to take a trip down the memory lane, but since we are low on time and this segment is not 4 minutes long, I would like to start off by saying, his his second tenure actually with Laboral Kucha. You always seem to me like as a badass guy, like the guy to get the job done, the guy who's not afraid to play, harder than everyone, simply to make the hustle play. When he made it to Madrid, the first thing that I was told, and actually kind of thought the same thing, was that is exactly what they were missing that year, I think, and maybe in recent years, simply to go all the way, because they made it to the Final Fours. Didn't quite manage to get a title, but when they did bring him in front of the Madrid home crowd, he was amazing. And Nocioni for me will not be remembered simply for the fact that he won the Euroleague, or as I will remember him simply for his character, for what he brought to the game, for the intensity, the love, the passion, and for that. After farewelling an amazing Euroleague legend such as Diamantidis at the beginning of the season, now it's time to say goodbye to another one. So, Nocioni, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the great Twitter account, Soy El Chapo. You were great to watch, you were great to experience, and simply thank you.
And yeah, I just got to chime in on there, because of course, like a lot of Sweet 16 viewers, my first interaction with seeing Andres Nocioni was that Argentina team 2004 when they won the gold in Athens. And yeah, sort of he had obviously a great stint in the NBA, and it's like, well, not great, good stint in the NBA. He had pretty good innings in fairness to him, like 8 seasons. and came back, and like coming back is like it's a journey in some respects. Now he came back to the best possible place to come back in Europe. I think we've established that now. If you're coming home, Baskonia is probably about as nice a landing spot as you can get. Like only Andrea Bagnani has managed to make a mess of that. Went there, did good there. Went to Real, and like the big thing for me is the age he was for that Final Four. 35 years old, winning that Final Four MVP. Like was the guy for Real across those two games. And I think it's like sort of that, he still had that sort of weekend in him. Good for you, Andres.
Andres Nocioni is a member of the golden generation of Argentina, and he's really synonymous with Baskonia, which was also named Tau Keramica during the time that Nocioni emerged in the basketball scene. And even if he got the Final Four MVP award with Real Madrid, I believe that he will always be associated with Baskonia. So, as they say in Vitoria, Aupa, and let's make it to the next section of our podcast, to the game of the week.
The past is in the past. What's done is done. It's time to look forward. Here's our games of the week. Now, we've come to a very, very, very challenging part of the season for the Dublin office of Sweet 16. Because it's the time of the season where we've got to be able to count and be able to do like permutations and things. Fortunately, when it comes to the rankings game, we can defer to our Tel Aviv office. So Moshe, explain to us what exactly is going to happen or could happen or might happen or theoretically could happen depending on how Stephen Hawking views it.
So, to be honest, we like to talk about the rankings game, but I do think that even though the Tel Aviv office could provide you with an explanation, the better explanation can be found actually on Eurohoops.
In total, guys, there are something like 34 scenarios for every team. The point is that to keep things simple, there is a straight up duel between Tsverna Zvezda and Darusafaka Dogus. In case the Serbs win, they get at least to be 8th in the standings. There is also a scenario that makes them the 7th team of the standing, but the chance for this is pretty slim. Darusafaka can end up being just 8th if they get to beat the Serbs. So the next really interesting game is the game between Real Madrid and Anadolu Efes. Considering the way that Anadolu Efes is playing right now, and also the way that Real Madrid is not having any real motivation to win this game, you can say that a road win is not out of the question. The real interesting thing is what will happen if Anadolu Efes gets the win at Madrid. There is a more than probable scenario that sends Fenerbahce in the 7th place and right into CSKA Moscow for the playoffs. This is going to be really interesting, and this is something that will be decided in the last game of the night, because the last game of the night is Real Madrid playing against Anadolu Efes. Of course, there are tons of other possible scenarios. The problem of Fenerbahce is that they have been beaten twice by Baskonia, so if Baskonia gets the win, then Fenerbahce is in trouble. And on the other hand, Panathinaikos has beaten twice Baskonia, so also if Panathinaikos gets the win, then there's a pretty good chance for them to finish on the 4th spot of the standings. That's the short version, and the game to watch are two. Of course, the game in Istanbul and the game at Madrid.
You know what? It's going to be interesting. This is a week to watch. So, you know what? Without further ado, Emmett, what simply, what are your thoughts on some of the games that we have?
Fener playing Barca. Like, Bartzakis is clearly annoyed at the way people are, bad mouthing Barca in the press. But Fener need to win. Simple as. Even if they have qualified, and it's not just to avoid Cesc in the playoffs, there's a psychological side to this as well. I'm going all in on Fener on this. Obviously, the 4th place team is heading out your part of the world. Maccabi and Pau going at it, and so are Baskonia and Zalgiris. Give us your thoughts on those two.
Well, on the first one, I gotta say I am expecting this game because I will get a personal chance to see Panathinaikos up close and personal. And I do think that, well, since we did say it's going to be in a one-liner because there is no need to elaborate on this game too much, I go with Pau all the way. Panathinaikos for me on this one. Aris, your thoughts on Baskonia playing with Žalgiris? Who wins?
With the key word being motivation this week, I believe that Baskonia has all the motivation in the world to beat Žalgiris, because in theory they can end up being even fifth in the standings. So on the other hand, Žalgiris is out of the competition, so it's natural for Baskonia to try and get as high as they can. On the other hand, Real Madrid, as we have already described it, has not any real motivation to beat Anadolu Efes, and Anadolu Efes is playing really great basketball during the last 2 weeks. The games against Olympiacos was one more proof for that, and really I will not be surprised no matter what will be the outcome of this game. Of course, it's we have to repeat again that Real can, by losing this game, send Fenerbahce straight to CSKA Moscow, and it remains to be seen what will be the story on the court. The fact, however, that Real Madrid, no matter what, is the top team of the standings, it's making the game much more important for Anadolu Efes.
It is a game to expect. It is a hard game between Madrid and Anadolu, simply to try and understand what's going to happen. Looking at the roster, I would say that Madrid has the edge in terms of having much more options coming off the bench. Looking at Anadolu, they are as athletic as it can get. They are as ready and as coached as it can be. And they have simply much more to play for. For Madrid, it's a matter of pride. For them, it's a matter of rankings, of standings, and if not for getting, maybe getting CSKA in a best-of-5 series, then maybe they can get Olympiacos that could have, maybe give them better chances at making it to the Final Four. And I'm just saying maybe, because getting Olympiacos without home court, that's as hard as it can get, and well, as hard as it can be, and as interesting as it will be. We have a much more interesting game that's, simply it's do or die. There is no coming back from this one. Guys, we've said week in, week out that Dachka are the ones to follow, simply that for them every game is a game of the week. But, and there's a big but about it, right now, it's all or nothing. It's winner takes all. Winner takes the playoff, obviously, and takes the privilege of playing against Madrid without home court advantage, which is, depends how you look at it. First time these two teams met, and I know I like to talk about the past, but only for this season, obviously. Zvezda played better in the first half. Dachka came back, showed character right from the first game of the Euroleague, I think it was, and they managed to escape with the W. This so big win, because this game was played in Belgrade. I need to remind you. This one, it goes on without saying, I think, but I will say it anyways. It's the very fast game, I think, that Dachka will have to impose versus the set offense game that Zvezda would have to try and impose for themselves. The more that they can slow down the pace of this game and try to control the outcome of every possession, whether it's on defense or on offense, that's what's going to make the difference. I do think that Dachka, even though they're not playing in a rather home court environment, because, well, let's just admit it, the Volkswagen Arena hasn't been that homey. With that being said, I do think that they might have some issues, but it is David Blatt's team, and as I've said earlier in recent episodes, whenever he had to go all in, simply for staying alive for another day, another EuroLeague game day, he made it happen. I do not know, I cannot predict and say, Dachka are going to win, Zvezda are going to win. I would say that in terms of, maybe Dačka has the edge simply for having Coach Blatt and a much more athletic roster. Zvezda might have it because, well, they are Zvezda. They are what they are. Hamid, how do you see this game happening?
Well, Belgrade, it's come to this. You're asking me to pick against David Blatt in a must-win game. And yet I'm actually going to do that. I'm picking you guys. Zvezda to beat Dačka in Istanbul. Pretty simple reason why. I think you can outsmart them defensively. I don't think there's enough nous really in the Dačka offense. It's very simplistic. And I think that's essentially going to be their undoing. Like, while I can have some massive upsides in terms of speed, getting some scores on the board, I think defensively Zvezda have just got too much going on, and I think they should get the stops. They will get the stops. Zvezda's run towards the end of this regular season has not been great. It took them sort of middle of a half of the game of Kazan to really get their act together, to realise this is what we need to do to play, to be a playoff side. You showed that through the second and third quarters of that game, I think. And so, yeah, I'm being pretty simple. I don't believe in jinxes, don't believe in curses, and I just believe in, getting the job done on the court. More often than not, Zvezda, you've done that this season. You got to do it one more time. And, frankly, on Friday night, you're going to. So, Zvezda to win. Aris, give us your thoughts.
You are quite right, Emmett. You will be loved at Belgrade, but it's hard to make any kind of prediction about this game. I believe that both teams have shown that they can get this win, and even if everyone loves an underdog, and Crvena Zvezda has provided some of the best games of the season, I don't believe that if Darussafaka gets into the playoffs, they will not deserve it. On the contrary, having said that, and being this a straight-up duel, I believe that this might end up being also kind of a duel between Bradley Wanamaker and whoever will be guarding him. I guess Lazic will try to stop him. Wanamaker has been one of the continuous big stories of the Euroleague, emerging as a leader from Bruce Bamberg, and then leading Darussafaka, which has a very impressive roster, but Wanamaker, one way or another, is really the guy that leads this team and get things going. Zizic has proven to be amazing. Will Clyburn the same. Scotty Wilbekin can shoot the lights out, but Wanamaker is always there in every big moment of every big game. So if Zvezda finds a way to shut him down, then things will be easier for them. I expect a dogfight. I don't believe that either team will have the ability to run and score easily, or unless they surprise us. I expect a close game. I expect a game decided on details, and that's why I believe that Bradley Wanamaker is going to be the face of this game one way or another.
And so on that bombshell that is Dačka Zvezda, we have previewed a regular season game for the last time this year. We'll obviously be looking back at what happened in our next step, but that's the last preview of the regular season. So it's time to bid you all farewell from here in Dublin. As ever, you can follow me, ballineurope.com, BIE_basketball on Twitter, and facebook.com/ballineurope. Aris, where can they find you, man?
As usual, you can find me on Eurohoops and also on my Twitter and Facebook account, and you can also watch me on Cosmote TV if you are a resident of Greece or a subscriber of the service outside the Greek borders.
Well, since strength is in unity, I want to say that we're living together, but still, it's farewell, and maybe we'll come back.
No, not again. Like, seriously, we're not. This isn't the Eurovision, okay? It's Euroleague.
Well, I mean, it is Europe's song. It is the final countdown, and there is no coming back from this one, at least not for Dačka or Zvezda. But I will give you this. You can find me on I'm Team Scout on Twitter as well as at MosesB1. Team Scout on Facebook, the website, teamscout.net. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being with us on a weekly basis. Just remember that our next show is going to be playoffs oriented, so it is something to look forward to. We're going to be, as always, on Eurohoops TV, SoundCloud, and on iTunes. And as we got to say, till next time.
Sweet 16, an open look on
Euroleague basketball.
Covering 16
EuroLeague teams.
Gonna be sweet. Sweet 16.